When I opened my eyes, I heard arguing nearby. You all know the situation the Shen family is in right now. If she marries a man just out of prison, the news will affect the group's stock price. Dad, this is my marriage. I'll decide for myself. The woman's voice was cold, but carried a tiredness that had been suppressed for a long time. I tried to open my eyes fully and see who was speaking, but my body felt pinned down by 1,000 pounds. I couldn't even move a finger. The faint smell of disinfectant reached my nose. I knew I was still in the hospital. 3 days ago, I had finished 3 years in prison. 3 years, enough to turn me from a young doctor everyone envied into a criminal in everyone's eyes. In that lawsuit, I took all the blame. No one believed me. The patients who once begged me for treatment avoided me. The friends who once called me brother deleted my contact information. Even the person I trusted most chose to stand against me. On the day I was released, I took only an old coat. I had wanted to start over, but on my way home, I was hit by a car, a black sedan that had lost control. Before I blacked out, I saw the man in the driver's seat. His face panicked. He said one sentence, "Chen Feng, you shouldn't have come out." At that moment, I was sure the crash was no accident, but I had no chance to ask more. When I woke again, I was already lying in a hospital bed. When will he wake up? The woman approached my bed, her voice lower now. The doctor says his body is recovering well. It should be soon. Then the wedding arrangements stay as planned. The person beside her clearly hesitated. Qingao, have you really decided? I've decided. She paused. The Shen family needs a husband right now. I need a legal identity to block those attacks. He needs a fresh start. This marriage benefits us both. Hearing this, I felt complicated inside. So while I was unconscious, I had somehow gained a wife. And not just anyone, a heiress to a wealthy family. The world had changed too fast. I gathered all the strength in my body and slowly opened my eyes. The few people in the room fell silent at once. The woman standing in front of me wore a simple white shirt, her long hair draped over her shoulders, her gaze cool and distant. She was Shen Qingyao, heiress to the Shen Group, a business prodigy known to everyone in Jiangqing. When she saw me awake, her expression shifted quickly, from surprise back to calm. You're awake. I looked at her. Why am I here? Shen Qingyao didn't answer right away. Instead, she gestured for the others to leave. As the door clicked shut, she sat down on a chair. Chen Feng, we're married. I froze. What? She placed a document on the table. You signed a marriage agreement while you were unconscious. I glanced at the paper but didn't open it. How could I sign anything while I was unconscious? Shen Qingyao was silent for a few seconds. Your family authorized the procedures. My eyes turned cold at those words. My family? When I was in trouble 3 years ago, none of them stood up for me. And now they decided my marriage for me. Shen Qingyao noticed my change in mood. This is indeed problematic. I'll look into it. I turned to her. Why would you marry a man just out of prison? She met my gaze without flinching. Because I need this marriage. Some people want to force me out of the Shen Group. I need a husband to stabilize outside perceptions. And you need a chance to start over. I laughed. So we're just partners? Shen Qingyao nodded. For now. She was direct. No fake tenderness. No deliberate flattery. That surprised me. 3 years ago, I'd seen too many false faces. Shen Qingyao, at least, was honest. What are your conditions? She asked. I leaned back against the bed. No conditions. She frowned. Chen Feng, no one helps others for nothing. I looked out the window. I just want to see what happens when a man everyone thinks is worthless stands back up. Shen Qingyao studied me carefully for the first time. She probably thought I was just being stubborn, because in her eyes, I was just an ordinary man who had barely regained consciousness. She didn't know that during those 3 years in prison, I had never wasted a single day. Old Qin once told me, a true master never rushes to prove himself. In 3 years, I learned lost medical arts and mastered the Qin family's secret martial techniques. The outside world thought I was ruined. In reality, those 3 years were when I remade myself. Just then, the ward door was pushed open. A young man walked in. Qingyao, you're really bringing this man back to the Shen house? He saw me awake, and his face shifted noticeably. Shen Qingyao said coldly, Shen Haoyu, this isn't a place for you. The man smiled. I'm just concerned about you. He turned to me. Chen Feng, do you know what the Shen family is? It's not a shelter for washed-up men. I didn't respond. I'd heard that kind of talk too many times 3 years ago. Shen Haoyu stepped closer. Be smart. Take some money and leave. It's better for everyone. I looked up at him. And if I don't? Shen Haoyu's smile faded slowly. Then you'll learn that life in a wealthy family is harder than prison. He turned and left. The room fell quiet again. Shin Qiyao looked at me. You don't have to mind him. I adjusted my clothes. Why is he so afraid of me entering the Shen family? Shin Qiyao didn't answer. Her silence said enough. It seemed this marriage held more secrets beneath the surface. I picked up the marriage agreement from the table. At the bottom of the first page, there was a name, Han Tianba. The moment I saw that name, my hand stopped. The force behind the man who sent me to prison 3 years ago, that was exactly the power behind this name. I finally understood. This so-called marriage might have been tied to my past from the very beginning. I stared at the name on the agreement, and the rainy night 3 years ago surfaced in my mind. Han Tianba. I would never forget that name. 3 years ago, I was the youngest attending physician at Jiangqing First Hospital. Back then, I had everything others envied. Brilliant medical skills, a stable career, a fiancé about to marry me. Everyone thought my life would go smoothly, until that medical incident. A patient with a special identity died suddenly after my surgery. All evidence pointed at me. Surveillance footage, medical reports, witness statements, all seemed prepared in advance. I was dragged to court. In the end, I took all the blame. Only afterward did I learn that the so-called truth was sometimes worthless in the face of capital. And Han Tianba was the man pulling the strings behind it all. I had thought that 3 years had closed that chapter, but as soon as I got out, I ran into his name again. Do you know Han Tianba? Xin Qingyao's voice broke my thoughts. I looked up. Why do you ask? She pointed at the agreement in my hand. Because your expression changed when you saw that name. I was silent for a moment. What's your relationship with him? Xin Qingyao didn't hide it. The Han Group is the Shen Group's biggest competitor. Over the last 6 months, they've been buying up Shen shares. My father's health is failing, and some inside the company support them, so my position is precarious. I looked at her. So you need a marriage to tell everyone you have someone behind you. Xin Qingyao nodded. Exactly. She paused, then added, but I won't use you. I smiled. In high society, is there really such a thing as not using? She didn't argue. She just said softly, at least I'll leave the choice to you. That caught me off guard. 3 years ago, I'd seen too many people who would do anything for profit. Xin Qingyao was different. Calm, realistic, but she still had principles. I put the agreement back on the table. I accept. Xin Qingyao clearly paused. Are you sure? Sure. Do you know what it means to enter the Shen family? I looked at her. It means people will cause trouble. She nodded. You might face a lot of pressure. I've been through worse. She looked at me and didn't press further. The next day, I was discharged. The Shen family sent a car for me. As the car stopped in front of the Shen villa, I saw several people standing at the entrance. One woman's face turned cold the moment she saw me. She was Lin Huilan, Xin Qingyao's mother. Qingyao, you really brought him back? Xin Qingyao said calmly. He is my husband now. Lin Huilan turned to me. Chen Feng, I don't know what method you used to make Qingyao agree to this marriage, but I hope you know your place. I didn't explain, because I knew explanations were meaningless. If someone has already decided you're worthless, everything you say sounds like an excuse. Just then, Xin Tianxiong walked out from inside. He leaned on a cane and looked unwell. He studied me for a few seconds. So you're Chen Feng? Yes. I heard you used to be a doctor. Yes. Xin Tianxiong nodded. What a pity. 2 words, and everyone present understood his attitude. Pity, meaning that in his eyes, my life was already ruined. I wasn't angry, because true ability didn't need to be proven through argument. At that moment, a servant rushed over frantically. Sir, madam, the old lady has suddenly collapsed. Everyone's face changed. Xin Tianxiong turned at once. Call the doctor. The private doctor is on the way. Without hesitation, I walked forward. Lin Huilan blocked me. What are you doing? Saving her. She frowned. You're not a doctor anymore. I looked at her. If we wait for the private doctor, she won't make it. That silenced everyone. Xin Tianxiong stared at me. Are you sure? Yes. After a few seconds, he stepped aside. I entered the room. The old lady lay on the bed, pale, breathing rapidly. I took her wrist. After a few seconds, I diagnosed the problem. Not an ordinary fainting spell. Acute cerebrovascular issue. Standard treatment would miss the critical window. I opened the needle case I carried with me. This was what old Shen had left me. I had studied it every day for 3 years. As the needle went in, the old lady's breathing gradually steadied. Everyone watched in shock. 10 minutes later, the old lady slowly opened her eyes. What happened to me? Shen Tianxiong walked over. Mother, you're awake. The old lady looked at me. Who is this young man? Shen Qinyao answered. He is my husband. The old lady turned to me, a glint of interest in her eyes. Your husband? Shen Qinyao nodded. The old lady smiled. It seems my granddaughter has finally done something that surprises me. Just as everyone relaxed, a voice came from outside the door. Chen Feng? I turned. A man in a suit stood there. Han Tianba. 3 years had passed. He hadn't changed much in appearance. Only his gaze was darker. He looked at me, a smile curling at the corners of his mouth. So you got out? I stood up. Disappointed? Han Tianba didn't answer. He just glanced at the Shen family. Seems like today is more interesting than I expected. I knew. The real trouble had begun. Han Tianba stood at the door, his smile carrying no warmth. 3 years ago, he'd worn the same expression, always looking like he held all the cards. Back then, I stood in court while everyone called me guilty, knowing full well that the so-called evidence had all been staged. And the man who pushed me into the abyss was standing right here. Chen Feng, long time no see. Han Tianba strolled in. Shen Qinyao shot him a cold look. Mr. Han, this is the Shen residence. I know. Han Tianba smiled. I just heard that Miss Shen brought home a very special husband. So I came to see. He turned to me. And it turns out we're old acquaintances. I looked back calmly. You must be surprised. Han Tianba's eyes shifted slightly. Indeed. I thought you'd stay inside much longer. The temperature in the room dropped. Shen Qinyao frowned. Han Tianba. What do you mean? Han Tianba didn't answer her. His eyes stayed fixed on me. Chen Feng, your current status doesn't belong here. A former convict suddenly becoming the Shen family's son-in-law. What do you think the public will say? I laughed. What others say has nothing to do with me. Han Tianba narrowed his eyes. 3 years apart. And you've changed. The old you wasn't this calm. I looked at him. Because I used to believe in rules. Then I realized some people don't play by any rules. Han Tianba's smile flickered for an instant. He quickly recovered. Young man, some things are in the past. Don't dig them up. Otherwise, you'll only make trouble for yourself. I didn't respond. Because I knew he hadn't come today to warn me. He had come to confirm one thing. How much I knew. After Han Tianba left, everyone in the Shen family wore complicated expressions. Shen Qinyao looked at me. You know him? Yes. What's your relationship? I paused. He's the one who sent me to prison. Shen Qingyao's face changed. Are you sure? Sure. She didn't speak right away. Because she knew what Han Tianba represented in Jiangqing, a man who could influence multiple industries. If I was telling the truth, the things hidden behind this went far deeper than she had imagined. That night, Shen Qinyao came to my room. She held a file. This is information I gathered about your case. I took the file. It recorded the medical incident from back then. Many parts looked reasonable on the surface, but couldn't withstand scrutiny. Why are you helping me look into this? I asked. Shen Qinyao sat on the sofa. Because we're husband and wife now. Even though this marriage started as a partnership. I don't want my husband carrying a crime that isn't his. I looked at her. This was the first time in 3 years I'd heard anyone offer to see things from my side. Thank you? She met my eyes. Chen Feng, I have one more question. What? What level is your medical skill? Really? I didn't answer. She continued. The old lady's condition. I consulted many doctors. They all said she needed long-term treatment. But you brought her back to consciousness in a very short time. That's not something an ordinary doctor can do. I looked down and sorted the documents. I learned a bit before. Shen Qinyao clearly didn't believe me. Just a bit? She stared at me. How many secrets are you hiding? I looked up. You'll find out in time. She didn't press further. She stood and prepared to leave. As she reached the door, I spoke. Shen Qinyao. She stopped. What? Thank you? She paused, then said softly. You don't need to thank me. I just did what should be done. After she left, I opened the file and continued reading. Soon, I noticed a detail. Among the investigators assigned to my case, there was a name, Wei Wu. I remembered that name too. He wasn't a doctor. Yet he appeared on the investigation list for a medical incident. That meant someone had been manipulating things from the very beginning. I took out my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in 3 years. It rang for a long time. Finally, someone picked up. "Who's this?" A familiar voice. I gripped the phone. "Zhao Lei." The line went silent for a few seconds. Then an excited voice burst through. "Fengge? Is it really you? You're out?" I looked out the window. "I'm out." Zhao Lei's voice dropped. I never stopped looking into what happened back then. I found some things. My eyes sharpened. About Han Tianba? Yes. And Wei Wu. Hearing that name, I knew I'd guessed right. Zhao Lei continued. "Fengge, where are you now?" "The Shen residence." There was a pause on the other end. "What's your connection to the Shen family?" I glanced at the marriage agreement on the table. "I married Shen Qingyao." Zhao Lei was clearly stunned. "You just got out. And you're already married? It's complicated. Then you need to be even more careful." "Why?" Zhao Lei lowered his voice. "Because I found out that the people who set you up are active again. And this time, their target might not be just you." I tightened my grip on the phone. "What do you mean?" Zhao Lei paused. "The Shen family." At that moment, I finally understood. My release from prison wasn't the end. It was the beginning of another chess game. Zhao Lei's words made me go quiet for a few seconds. "Are you sure the target is the Shen family?" Rustling papers came through the phone. "I've been investigating a long time. Han Tianba has been expanding for years. He wants to swallow the Shen group, not just for business. The Shen family holds a core technology that's important to him." I leaned back in my chair, staring at the documents on the table. "What technology?" "I haven't nailed down the details yet." Zhao Lei lowered his voice. "But I found a connection between your medical incident back then and an old project of the Shen family." My fingers stopped. "Go on." "The patient you were responsible for. He wasn't ordinary. His death redistributed benefits among several companies. You were just the scapegoat they picked." Now I understood. The incident 3 years ago wasn't a medical accident, it was a power play, and I had been the one thrown to the front. "Zhao Lei." "Yeah? Keep digging." "Fengge, what are you planning to do?" I looked out the window. "Take back the truth that belongs to me." After hanging up, I didn't rest. For 3 years, I had waited for a chance. Now it was here. The next morning, as soon as I stepped out of my room, I heard arguing downstairs. "Qingyao, you're really going to let him attend company meetings?" It was Shen Haoyu's voice. "He's my husband now." Shen Qingyao's tone was calm. "He has the right to know what's going on." I walked downstairs. Everyone's eyes turned to me. Shen Haoyu laughed. "Brother-in-law. Awake?" His address was polite, but the contempt in his eyes was unmistakable. I ignored him. Shen Qingyao came to my side. "There's an important company meeting today. The Han Group is trying to acquire 20% of Shen Group's shares. I need you to come with me." I looked at her. "Are you sure?" "Sure." Her voice was firm. "From today on, you need to appear in front of everyone officially." I nodded. "All right." Shen Haoyu sneered. "Sis, do you really think those board members will accept him?" Shen Qingyao looked at him. "Whether they accept him or not is their problem. My husband, I decide." That made Shen Haoyu's face shift. At the company, the conference room held more than a dozen people, all major shareholders of the Shen Group. When Shen Qingyao and I walked in together, every expression changed. "So this is Miss Shen's new husband? I heard he was in prison. How could the Shen family let someone like that into the company?" The murmurs weren't quiet. I heard every word. If this had been 3 years ago, I might have been angry. No, I only found it laughable. A person's worth was never decided by a few remarks. The meeting began. Shen Qingyao sat at the head of the table. "Today, we're here to discuss the Han Group's acquisition of shares." A middle-aged man spoke up. "Qingyao, I think you should be cautious. The Han Group is strong now. If we refuse cooperation, Shen Group might face financial strain." Shen Qingyao looked at him. "Uncle Shou, do you really think Han Tianba wants genuine cooperation?" The man didn't answer. Just then, the conference room doors opened. Han Tianba walked in. Seems like everyone was just discussing me. Everyone stood up. Han Tianba sat down with a smile. "Miss Shen, my terms are already very favorable. 20% shares in exchange for capital support. There's no downside for the Shen Group." Shen Qingyao said coldly. "Losing control, is that also no downside?" Han Tianba laughed. "Young people always overcomplicate things." He turned to me. "Mr. Chen is here too." "What? Are you also joining the business negotiations?" Someone in the room snickered. I ignored them. Instead, I looked at the documents on the table. After a few seconds, I spoke. This contract cannot be signed. Everyone fell silent. Shen Haoyu frowned. Do you even know what you're talking about? I pointed at the contract. Here on page 3. There's a hidden additional clause. If the Shen Group fails to meet agreed revenue targets in the future, the Han Group obtains priority rights to buy the remaining shares. The room went dead quiet. Qin Qingyao grabbed the contract and scanned it quickly. Her expression slowly changed. Mr. Han, you didn't tell us about this. Han Tianba's smile faded. Chen Feng, since when did you start reading business contracts? I looked at him. When I started reading them doesn't matter. What matters is that this contract cannot be signed. Han Tianba stared at me. For the first time, genuine wariness appeared in his eyes. Because he realized, the man he had easily crushed 3 years ago had changed. After the meeting, Qin Qingyao walked beside me. Who are you? Really? Before all this? I stopped. Someone who was destroyed by others. She looked at me. And now? I gazed into the distance. No. I just want to take back what belongs to me. That night, Zhao Lei sent a message. Just one line. Phone good. I found evidence of who set you up. Attached was a photo. The person in it made me clench my fists. It was the woman I had trusted most 3 years ago. Lin Shui. I stared at the photo on my phone for a long time, saying nothing. The woman in it was all too familiar. Lin Shui. The one who had stayed with me through the hardest times, and the one who, when I needed her most 3 years ago, chose to stay silent. After the medical incident, I called her countless times. I wanted to know who had tampered with things. I wanted to know why she suddenly changed her testimony. But in the end, she sent me only one message. Chen Feng, it is what it is. Just accept it. And then she vanished. 3 years had passed, and I thought I had let go. But seeing her standing beside Han Tianba in that photo, I realized some wounds never truly healed. Zhao Lei called soon after. Phone good. You saw it? I saw it. Lin Shui is now Han Tianba's associate. I closed my eyes. When did she get in touch with Han Tianba? I haven't nailed down the exact timeline yet. Zhao Lei paused. But I found out that before your medical incident, she had financial transactions with the Han Group. I gripped the phone. Why did she do it? Zhao Lei was silent for a moment. Maybe for money. Maybe for other reasons. I'll keep looking. After hanging up, I sat in my room for a long time. I had once believed in love. Believed that someone who stayed with you through hardship would always stand by you. But reality had taught me the cruelest lesson. The next day, Qin Qingyao noticed I wasn't myself. At breakfast, she glanced at me several times. What happened? I looked up. Nothing. She didn't press. She just pushed a cup of coffee toward me. If something's wrong, you can tell me. We're husband and wife now. She said it seriously. I looked at her and suddenly realized, this woman, though outwardly cold, was more reliable than many. I used to have a fiancé. Qin Qingyao's hand paused. Lin Shui? I was surprised. You know, I saw the materials Zhao Lei sent you yesterday. She didn't avoid it. Sorry. I didn't mean to pry into your private affairs. I shook my head. It's fine. Qin Qingyao set down her coffee. She betrayed you? I didn't answer. But my silence was answer enough. Qin Qingyao looked at me. Chen Feng. The people and things from the past don't define who you are now. I smiled. Are you comforting me? No. She shook her head. I just think that someone who can stand back up after 3 years has already proven his capability. Those words struck something in me. Just then, the butler hurried in. Miss, something's happened at the company. Qin Qingyao stood at once. What? Several partners who signed contracts yesterday suddenly suspended cooperation. And 2 banks have notified us they're reassessing our loans. Qin Qingyao's face changed. Han Tianba had started making his move. When we arrived at the company, the conference room was in chaos. Several directors were arguing. President Shen, we have to accept Han's terms now. Otherwise, the cash flow won't hold. Shen Haoyu sat among the crowd, silent, but his expression was too calm. Too calm. I noticed that detail. A person genuinely worried about the company wouldn't be so composed at a time like this. After the meeting, I stopped Qin Qingyao. Has your brother been in touch with Han Tianba lately? She paused. Why do you ask? Just a hunch. She frowned. Chen Feng, business judgment can't be based on hunches. I looked at her. What if there's evidence? I pulled out my phone. Xiao Lei had just sent a video. In it, Shen Haoyu was sitting in a private club with a man, Han Tianba's assistant, Wei Wu. After watching, Xin Qingyao's face gradually turned cold. When was this taken? Last night. She was quiet for a long time. I never thought. I looked at her. In high society, the most dangerous enemy isn't the one outside. It's the one beside you. Xin Qingyao didn't argue, because she knew I was right. That night, I went alone to the company's underground parking garage. As I was about to get into the car, a dark figure suddenly rushed out, a fist aimed straight for my face, carrying killing intent. I shifted my body slightly to the side. His punch missed. He was clearly stunned. Fast reflexes. I looked at the man in front of me, Wei Wu, the most dangerous man beside Han Tianba. You finally couldn't hold back. Wei Wu sneered. So you know me. I know you. Then you should understand. You lost once 3 years ago. I rolled my wrists. 3 years ago, I lost to a conspiracy. Today, I want to see if your fists are good enough to make me lose. Wei Wu's eyes darkened. The next second, his body lunged at me at a speed far beyond ordinary people. An average person would have fallen from the first blow. But he didn't know, for 3 years, I had trained every day under Old Qin's guidance. I had survived far crueler tests than this. When his fist was only a few centimeters from my face, I raised my hand. I grabbed his wrist with precision. Wei Wu's face changed instantly, because he realized he couldn't break free. You, I looked at him. Tell Han Tianba, the Chen Feng from before is dead. The one who's back now, he can't afford to provoke. I released his hand. Wei Wu staggered back a few steps, and for the first time, fear flickered in his eyes. He didn't attack again. He turned and left. I knew, from this moment on, Han Tianba would finally take me seriously as an opponent, and I had officially stepped back onto the road I had left unfinished 3 years ago. After Wei Wu left, the parking garage fell silent again. I stood there, not leaving right away. That brief exchange confirmed one thing. Han Tianba was already panicking. A man truly confident wouldn't send his strongest enforcer for a probe. He did this because he was afraid I would keep digging, and I was more certain now than ever. The truth of 3 years ago was hidden somewhere in the chain of interests behind Han Tianba. Early the next morning, Xin Qiyao came to my room. She held a file. This is the company's cash flow records for the past 3 years. I took the file. What did you find? She sat across from me. Shen Haoyu is indeed problematic. He set up a private company in recent years, with unclear funding sources. I flipped through the pages and soon spotted a familiar name, an investment firm under the Han Group. How long has he been working with Han Tianba? Xin Qiyao shook her head. Not sure. She paused. But one thing is certain. My brother wants the Shen Group. I looked at her. What will you do? Xin Qiyao was silent. For the first time, I saw hesitation in her eyes. He's my brother. I've taken care of him since we were young. I never thought he'd go this far for power. I didn't answer right away, because I understood, family ties were the most complicated thing in the world. When a stranger hurts you, you can fight back. But when the one who hurts you is someone you grew up with, that pain is much harder to face. Qin Yao. You have to figure out one thing first. What? Whether he has already chosen to stand against you. She looked at me. After a long while, she nodded. I understand. That afternoon, Xin Qiyao and I went to the Shen Group. The atmosphere in the company had clearly changed. Those who had looked down on me before now looked at me with more complicated expressions. Because news of what happened in the parking garage had spread. No one knew the details, but they knew this much. Han Tianba's man had failed. In the conference room, Qin Tianxiong sat at the head of the table. His health had recovered somewhat. When he saw me, he spoke to me directly for the first time. Chen Feng, sit down. Everyone was somewhat surprised, because he had never treated me this way before. As the meeting began, Qin Tianxiong looked at me. What are your thoughts on the Han Group issue? I didn't beat around the bush. Han Tianba doesn't want cooperation. He wants to control the Shen Group. Several directors frowned. Mr. Qin, on what basis do you say that? I opened my materials. Because the contract he offered was a trap from the start. He creates financial pressure first, then forces the Shen Group to accept his terms. Once the shares enter his hands, he'll tighten the pressure further. Eventually, the Shen Group will lose control. The room went quiet. One director turned to Xin Qiyao. Did you investigate all this? Xin Qiyao answered. Chen Feng discovered it. That made everyone look at me again. Shen Tianxiong was silent for a long time. You studied medicine before. Why do you know this? I knew this question would come eventually. When you're in different environments, you learn to protect yourself. That was my answer. Shen Tianxiong didn't press further. After the meeting, he kept me behind alone. Chen Feng. I used to look down on you. He said it bluntly. Because I thought you weren't good enough for Qin Yao. I said nothing. But now, I admit I was partly wrong. Partly? Shen Tianxiong looked at me. Your ability, I acknowledge that. But your past, I still need to understand. I nodded. That's fair. After leaving the Shen house, Qin Yao suddenly asked me, why don't you tell me everything? I looked at her. What? Your medical skills, your martial arts, and what you went through 3 years ago. She stopped walking. You've been guarding yourself against everyone. I was silent. She was right. 3 years of experience made it hard for me to trust anyone completely. Because I don't know who's sincere. Qin Yao didn't get angry. She just said softly, then you can take your time judging. Time will tell. That night, Zhao Lei contacted me again. Feng Ge. I found Lin Shui. She's in Jiangqing right now. I asked, what's her relationship with Han Tianba? Zhao Lei hesitated for a moment. More complicated than we thought. She didn't just take money to help Han Tianba. She seems to be investigating something. I frowned. What? Zhao Lei said. The leftover records of that patient from back then. My eyes changed. What do you mean? Zhao Lei paused. Feng Ge. I suspect that patient from 3 years ago never died. Those words froze me completely. 3 years ago. Everyone told me the patient had died. I went to prison because of it. Now Zhao Lei was telling me that person might still be alive. If that was true, the entire foundation of the case would collapse. I gripped the phone. Look into it thoroughly. I need to know the truth. After hanging up, I stood by the window. 3 years ago, I lost everything. Now, I would take it all back, piece by piece. And my first target was uncovering the secret behind that medical incident.